He had everything: the cars, the mansion, the power, the millions stacked in his bank account. But when it came to the one thing that mattered most, his own son's happiness, he was completely powerless. And the answer didn't come from doctors. It didn't come from therapists. It didn't come from money. It came from the most unlikely person in his house, the black maid who had been invisible to them for years. Her hidden trick didn't just save his son. It shattered walls of racism, exposed what true love looks like, and left behind a lesson that money can never buy. This is that story. The millionaire and his world Thomas Whitaker was the kind of man you read about in magazines. He built his fortune from the ground up: tech, investments, real estate. By his late 40s, he owned half a dozen companies and lived in a mansion that looked like something pulled from a Hollywood set. To the world, he was a success story, but behind closed doors, there was silence. Not the comfortable silence of peace, but the heavy silence of emptiness. His only son, Daniel, sat in his room most days, slouched over, headphones on, refusing to smile, refusing to talk. Doctors labeled it depression. Therapists tried their sessions. Thomas threw money at everything: gaming consoles, trips to Europe, even a brand new sports car on Daniel's 17th birthday. But no matter what he did, nothing lit up his son's eyes. And deep down, Thomas felt a kind of panic he had never known in business. Because you can't negotiate with sadness. You can't outspend loneliness, and you can't buy love. Enter the Maid in. The mansion lived someone almost invisible. Her name was Rosa May Johnson, a black woman in her late 50s who had been cleaning houses for most of her life. She had worked for Thomas for years, scrubbing his floors, washing his dishes, keeping the giant house spotless. She was polite, quiet, always moving in. The background. Thomas rarely noticed her. To him, she was the help. But Rosa noticed everything. She noticed the way Daniel's shoulders sagged lower each week. She noticed how Thomas tried to fix things by throwing gifts into his son's room like bandages. She noticed the ache that money couldn't touch. And she remembered something from her own past. Something her grandmother had told her back when she was a little girl in Alabama, living through times when just being black was enough to make life unbearably hard. Her grandmother said, "The soul don't eat diamonds, baby. The soul feeds on love, on stories, on people seeing you, really seeing you." The first conversation. One afternoon, while cleaning near Daniel's room, Rosa May noticed him sitting on the floor, head buried in his arms. She hesitated. She wasn't supposed to talk much. Her job was to clean and disappear. But something inside her said, "This boy don't need silence. He needs a witness." So, softly, she asked, "Baby, you okay?" Daniel looked up, startled. Nobody ever asked him that. Not like that, not with that kind of tenderness. He shrugged. "Doesn't matter. Nobody cares anyway." Rosa set down her cleaning rag, walked over, and sat on the floor with him. "I care. Now tell me, what's weighing on you?" It was the first time in years Daniel opened his mouth and actually let words spill out, and Rosa just listened, not like a doctor taking notes, not like a father trying to solve, but like someone who carried her own pain and understood his. The hidden trick Rosa started something simple. Every day, she gave Daniel 10 minutes. No chores, no cleaning, no rules. Just sitting, talking, and listening. Sometimes she told him stories about growing up black in the South, about the struggles her family faced, about how people looked down on them simply for the color of their skin. But in those stories, she also carried hope. She carried resilience. She showed Daniel that happiness wasn't about what you had, but about who you had. She taught him a hidden trick her grandmother passed down. "Baby, When the world makes you feel invisible, make yourself seen by loving somebody else. That's the medicine. That's the secret. Daniel started smiling again, slowly at first, then brighter each day. Not because the pain was gone, but because someone finally saw him. The father's awakening, at first, Thomas didn't notice. He was too busy with meetings, calls, trips, deals. But then one night, he heard something he hadn't heard in years. Laughter. It was coming from Daniel's room. When Thomas opened the door, he saw his son laughing with Rosa, tears in his eyes from joy. For the first time in a long time, Thomas felt jealous. "What are you doing with my son?" he asked sharply. Rosa looked at him calmly. "Just listening, sir. Just giving him what money can't." Those words pierced Thomas like a knife. He had built empires, but he couldn't build that. The confrontation. With racism at dinner the next evening, Thomas tried to talk to Daniel, but Daniel said something that shocked him. "Dad, you don't even know me. You just buy me stuff. Rosa knows me better than you do." The words cut deep. And then Daniel added softly, "And you barely even look at her. She's more family to me than you are." Thomas didn't know what to say, because deep down, he realized it was true. All those years, he had treated Rosa as background noise, a black woman who scrubbed his toilets but never earned his respect. It was racism, subtle, quiet, unspoken but powerful. And now, that very woman was the one saving his son. The transformation, Thomas swallowed his pride. He began sitting in on Rosa's talks with Daniel. At first awkward, then slowly opening up. He listened to Rosa's stories, too, about how her father had been beaten for trying to vote, about how she had to enter restaurants through back doors as a child, about how her brother had been denied jobs because of his skin, and Thomas realized something he had never seen before. This woman had carried pain he couldn't even imagine, and yet she still gave love freely. That was the hidden trick. Not bitterness, not wealth, not status, but love that outlasts hate.